Hey guys, gals out there in KastKing land, have I got a little dealio for you. We'll call it a hack, a little bit of a rod modification, or even a repair. Might even save you a little bit of money. Clay Roberts, KastKing Pro Team here. Stay tuned. Okay, we be back. Well, if you haven't guessed from the previous 2 or 3 stills, our little instructional presentation is on hook keepers. And you say, why? What for? How come? Well, hang with me a little bit and we'll talk about a few things and see if it doesn't ring a bell or help you out in the future. You can put it in your memory bank and pull her out sometime in the future. So, hook keepers. We're going to be looking at a temporary hook keeper that you can put onto your rod. It's temporary, but it's durable. It'll last a full season. I've had them last full seasons. And the reason we'd want to do this, if we don't like the position of where our hook keeper is, lure keeper is, or what we're going to work with today is a Speed Demon Pro rod, one of Sandy's spinning rods, magically somehow lost its hook keeper in the rod box. Strange things happen in rod boxes. I've seen hook keepers gone, guides broke. I've seen heavy line broke in the rod locker. You pull out your outfit, your rig, and line's broke. So a lot of stresses, big stresses go on in rod lockers. So let's take how about a pet peeve? Man, my life is nothing but pet peeves. Let's take a look at this. See if we can get this to focus. See that hook keeper on this particular rod? It's a loop. It's a closed loop, which I think is fine. If we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. If you're utilizing a open hook presentation like a jig, or maybe a drop shot where the hook is open, and the hook can hook in there fine, and it's just fine if it's positioned correctly. But what I have an issue with, and something that annoys me unbelievably, I'm getting crotchety in my old age, but it's a matter of convenience. It's a matter of efficiency, having the hook keeper in the right place, and we even have a cost savings with a properly placed, properly designed hook keeper, which we'll talk about in a minute. So let's just take a quick look here. Here is Sandy's flipping outfit. You can see the hook keeper, and these are sexy hook keepers. These KastKing hook keepers, Al outdid himself on this, having the hook keeper shaped like the KastKing logo and have it logoed also is just very cool. But it's positioned perfectly on the, for now, we'll call it on the back side, opposite side of the reel, on the rod, out of the way, and it's open. It's open on the end. So where that comes into play for me, it works really good for drop shot, as you can hang your drop shot in there. But for me, I am annoyed. Fishing can be pretty tough here in Colorado at times, and you're making a lot of moves, changing rods. Set this back down over here. Back and forth, different presentations, and you're having to stow one rod and stow your bait on that rod. So if you don't have an open hook keeper like that, open on one side, if it's a loop, you have to unpin, Texas rig, say your presentation, if that's what you're fishing, you're flipping your worm, shaky head, you have to pull that hook out in order to be able to hook it in your looped closed hook keeper. And as you saw in the stills previously, don't do this. You see people where they unpin their shaky head and they hang it in their first guide. Now, don't do that, please. You can damage your ceramics so easy on that first guide by hooking it in the guide inside the guide. That can cause you problems with line fraying, line breakage, or a bunch of other things can happen because of that. If you have to put it there, the spot to put it there would be on the guide frame itself and not in the guide inside the guide ring. But we don't even want it there at all, because we don't want to have to unpin our Texas rig, pull it out of the plastic, and redo it. And our most favorite lure here in Colorado is the old hula grub on a shaky head. But if we have to pull this out a bunch of times, eventually you basically wear out your plastic, and you may not even have caught a fish on it. You pull it out, the barb kind of rips out a little plastic, then you put it back in, and then you pull it out, and pretty soon there's really only one perfect spot to rig your bait. And once that spot is wore out as far as holding the hook, you can flip it over, but then you have the issue with the front getting wore out. You get some more use out of it, but we'll talk about this rod keeper and how it's, or not rod keeper, the hook keeper, and how it's going to help us avoid all that, save us time having to re-rig our bait, keeping our bait perfect from spot to spot, and not having to re-rig it. So what next? So here's the rod that we're going to be working on. This is the rod that came out of the rod box broke. You can see it right there. That's where the hook keeper was. And we're going to put the hook keeper back in that spot. So the nice thing about this, being able to put a hook keeper wherever you want, is maybe you don't like the hook keeper where it's at. Maybe you're kind of a short line guy and you're doing where you're at, you're doing a lot of true flipping, close in work with a fixed length of line, and you're going in and out. And I know I've had this happen to me where your line gets hung up on your hook keeper because it's just in the wrong spot, that it catches your line as you're working the line back and forth. And so with this, you can leave that hook keeper there, fine, get rid of it if you want to, but you can add a hook keeper on the opposite side of the reel or just a little ways away from your line hand, where it won't snag up on your line as you're doing that close in work. Maybe you don't like the position of the hook keeper because of the way you lay your rod down on the deck. There's a kind of a certain way that you lay your bait casters down where they look nice and organized, and you can get the maximum number of bait casters if you choose to under your rod strap. But sometimes the bait is on the underside of the rod, which gives me grief, and then you put your rod strap on, adds pressure, and your bait gets mangled between the rod and the deck. So you can change your lure keeper, hook keeper position so that the bait is stowed on the top side where it's kind of protected from that. What about this? Your rod keeper's in front of the grip. Could be okay, but maybe you don't want it in front of the grip, because when you put your rod sock on, your rod sock comes all the way down to here, hopefully, to cover all of your rod blank, and you end up with the rod sock over your bait. Maybe you have a bait cover on it, it looks like a crankbait or something, and then you can't get your rod cover over top of the bait because you have a lure cover on top of your bait. So maybe you would want to have it positioned on down at the butt of the rod so that you can get your rod cover all the way down the rod, all the way to here, and then touch your bait on down and put your cover down here at the base. I think that's the ultimate situation with this. You can do that. Okay, let's get to the rat killing, as John Wayne would say. My favorite movie. We'll start looking at some of the little bits and pieces that it takes to make this particular. Now, I can't take credit for this. I am not sure where I saw it, but I think the application I saw it shown was a guide repair. Long time ago I saw it and kind of modified it to the hook keeper. So I'm sorry I can't give credit where credit is probably due, but we'll go forward with it anyway. So I get these. There they are. Cheap, 24, whole bunch, cheap mechanical pencils. What we're going to do is take a pair of pliers, focus please, and we're going to remove, this is just kind of stuck on there, I think it's glued, and we're going to remove that from the body of the pencil with like a pair of pliers, a pair of needle nose vice grips, best ever. We're just going to grab it, just wiggle it, it pops right off. Throw that pencil away, we don't need that. So there we have what is going to be our hook keeper. And you can get different colors if you want, whatever you want, but this is what we're going to use for the base of our hook keeper, is that pocket clip. Alright, so there we have that. Here is our next item. I'll get a bunch of it. This is, they call this a bunch of different names, but it's, and you've seen it, I'm sure, it's self-sealing, comes in a bunch of different colors. This is self-sealing tape. They call it self-amalgamating tape. Some of the brand names are Tommy tape, Rescue tape, but it's a silicone tape. Has no adhesive. It has a cellophane cover, we'll call it, on one side, just to kind of protect it, keep it from sticking to itself, which it does very good. It actually connects molecularly. I mean, one piece of tape actually becomes, when you put it over top of itself or another piece, it becomes one. I mean, it literally seals to itself. And that's what we're going to use to attach this hook keeper. This is very cool. Good thing to have in the boat, good thing to have in the truck, in the car. Has a whole bunch of applications other than our little fishing application here. So you don't need a full width. I'll put this on the white. So I always cut it in half. It'll go twice as long. I cut a strip, more than I usually need. This is probably 8-9 inches. You can always stop when you're done and cut a little bit off to finish it up. There's the cellophane cover. Alright, so here's Sandy's rod without a hook keeper. I'm doing this from behind the camera, so forgive me if I'm not centered and focused all the time. So there's where we're going to put the hook keeper, right back where it was. So we take our piece of tape and we are going to remove, just remove the backing off this tape. There it goes. Drop that. And we want to put one wrap of this on the rod first, before we put our hook keeper on. There we go. We'll put it right there. You want to stretch it a little bit. You just kind of hold it till you get one full wrap and back to the spot where you want the hook keeper to be, which in our case is going to be right there. Okay, and we grab that little pin piece. We are back in the frame. Focus please. There we go. Okay, so we're going to lay our little clip with the part that was attached to the pin on the tape, and how does that look? And we're just going to wrap that on with some more wraps. Stretching and coming over. Like I said, there's no adhesive on this. It just binds to itself. We're kind of stretching it so it won't stick to anything unless it has itself to stick to. And we'll use this whole thing. The last little bit, you just gently stretch, just press it down. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is about it. Finished. Very sturdy. It'll last a season. You may have to redo it. It just kind of depends. I have noticed that in really hot weather, sometimes if there's a sharp edge, it will start to kind of tear the tape at the sharp edge, and then the whole thing kind of tears off. But you're only out pennies, and you got your stuff in your glove box of your boat, and you're able to repair it on site at the campfire. So now we don't have to unhook our shaky head. It fits right under that clip. Life is good. Pull it off. Fish, fish, fish. Change presentations, different spot. There it is. Of course, it has to be under. It'll hang pretty good by itself, but of course, it'll have to. The slack of your line will have to be reeled up just to get tension to hold it in there. Hook keeper for when you need it, where you need it, where you want it placed. I like it. I use them a lot. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.